This is our last video commenting on the material in Lesson 8, which is the relation of faith and reason in St. Thomas. We'll finish up looking at question 12 in the first part of the first part, articles 12 and 13. The question is, how is God known by us? And, of course, a lot of these articles will be great to tackle, but for our purposes, we want to look at the question he says, whether God can be known in this life by natural reason. And the answer is yes and no, of course. Yes, we can know something about God using our natural reason. Again, this comes from Summa Contra Gentiles as well. But we can't know much, is a short answer, about God in this life. So St. Thomas says, our natural knowledge begins from the senses and can be led by sensible things to knowledge of the suprasensible. Again, but we cannot know the essence of suprasensible objects, whether angels or God. We can only know about, we can speculate about their essences with certainty. We can use our reason, but we don't do that while having an actual experiential reference or concept of those beings, let alone God, who not only is suprasensible, but whose essence is his existence, which means it's infinite, uncreated, and our knowledge of an uncreated being is analogous at best for St. Thomas. So he says in his Respondio, because they are his effects and depend on their cause, we can be led from them so far as to know of God whether he exists, and to know of him what must necessarily belong to him as the first cause of all things, exceeding all things, and caused by him. But he super exceeds them all, super excedit. We have to always go by the way of transcendence, super exceeded, always denying more than we affirm. Another place, St. Thomas says, we only know what God is not what he is. And finally, Article 13 of question 12, whether by grace a higher knowledge of God can be obtained than by natural reason. The answer is yes. You might think that it wouldn't be a more perfect knowledge of God by grace, but maybe just a more perfect belief in him or encounter with him, relationship with him. But of course, the knowledge isn't going to increase through grace. Maybe our love would increase, intimacy, but our knowledge is limited to the way we know of things as humans, and grace doesn't turn us into an angel or give us, instant mystical knowledge of God. You might think that. St. Thomas says, no, we do have a more perfect knowledge of God by grace than by natural reason. Says the intellect's natural light is strengthened by the infusion of gratuitous light, and sometimes the images in the human imagination are divinely formed so as to express divine things better than those do which we receive from sensible objects, as in prophetic visions, for instance. Sometimes we have voices to express a divine meaning. Okay, so what he's saying is the knowledge we get from Scripture, for instance, the metaphors and images, and of course prophetic knowledge, if you have that charism, and mystical knowledge. These are all ways in which grace does improve our knowledge of God. And the highest metaphysical speculation that you can get from reading Plato and Aristotle is nothing compared to the scriptural parables and images that God gives us of heaven and himself. The loving, merciful shepherd, for instance, and his treatment of the prodigal son. You know, these images that we get, really extend our knowledge way beyond anything we can have. Even though it's by way of images, which is a sort of lower level of knowledge and high level metaphysical abstraction. Well, thanks for paying attention to these commentaries. I hope they were helpful to you, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.